Hey, girlfriend.
Hello.
Today, girlfriends, we want to ask you such an important question, which is what are the helpful things that you wish your younger self could have known that your midlife self knows help you? We're going to go there. We're going to go there with some therapeutic things, with some holistic things, with some practical things, but just we want to give ourselves all the help we can get, and we want to share what works for us and also help our youngins know more. So that is what is resonating with us. We can't wait to get into it with you. I'm voice coach Jessica Neighbor.
I'm Fleshay Hesh. So glad you're here.
We're girlfriends of a certain age. In midlife, we got a lot to say. So let's get loud. We won't fade away. 'Cause we're girlfriends of a certain age.
I'm so fired up to know what has been a life-changing thing for you in midlife now that you wish you had known when you were a youngin'.
All right, girl, I'm going into the deep. First thing for myself, antidepressants.
Oh, you said the thing.
I sure did.
On behalf of all of the women who needed to hear you say that and now are leaning forward to find out why,
Uh-huh.
I thank you.
Okay, so it's really interesting. I first was recommended them when I went to therapy in my 20s, and I said no, absolutely not.
Oh,
I was too afraid of them. It was a stigma, and I think through talk therapy, I wound up having a lot of tools. But girl, then perimenopause came along in my early 40s.
right.
And my doctor did suggest those, and we will talk in a moment about how that is often over prescribed to women experiencing perimenopause. In my case, however, it was life altering. Girl, when I started taking my antidepressant, it was like, and it was for anxiety as well. It was like I had a coating on my nerves that I didn't quite know I didn't have before. I was walking around and I was like, is this how everyone else is feeling right now?
Oh,
And it was such a relief. It was also not like the gates open. It was a very subtle shift, but all of a sudden I realized I'm not having as much anxiety before I go to a party, or when I get tired, I'm not going as low and hitting rock bottom like I did before. And then I kind of got so excited about it that I wound up telling my mom, who is now a huge advocate for it, some women in our family who share similar biology, one of my best friends. I was just singing it and praising it all around. And I know it's not for everyone. I absolutely recognize that. But it was such a stigmatized thing that I literally had been offered 20, 25 years prior, and my young self would not accept that kind of help. And then I did all these different sorts of therapies throughout the years. I mean, I really tried. And to finally realize, as part of my helpful thing, it was the antidepressant all along.
Oh, well, congratulations on
Thank you.
finding the thing that's right for you.
Thank you.
What I hear in that, in your 20-year-old, 20-something self being offered a solution, a remedy, some help, some support, what I hear is you were being a lone wolf and being like, oh, I can tough it out. I can figure this out, right? And then now that you're older, you are I see how you're bringing this whole team and support, and you're just saying yes to
Yeah.
all that's possible. And I think most of us do that in some fashion. Where in your life have you done that? Where you were offered something and you were just like, oh, no, I don't need that. And then it turned out to be the thing. And I think now at this stage of life, we're much more open. We're more open. I think we're a lot more open-minded.
We are.
That's something that I see. And so I'm so proud of you. I'm just so curious, and I'm sure girlfriends will be too. Are there any side effects that you were like, well, that sucks, but it's worth it?
None in my case. I'm on a very low dose. I lucked out and found one that worked for me. It happens to be Paxil. I'm not a representative of them, but that's what worked for me. I think the paroxetine is the label, but Paxil is the one that works for me. Other family members tried different things, so that's important to know. Also, like my good buddy got on one where she said it made her sleep really erratic, and she got actually like a weird energizing feeling from one, and was like cleaning the house in the middle of her night, and we were having a good laugh. So she wound up finding one. She had to go through a couple of trial and error, which is actually much more normal than what I did. I just happened to score the jackpot with something. I also will say that when I was 20, it was during the whole Prozac pushback,
Right.
right? So there was like the book out called Prozac Nation. And I think something about the idea of like medication for this thing just seemed awful. So I think you're right. Underneath it all, there was like that lone wolf thing. But also in our culture, there was a lot of pushback about like too many young people being overly prescribed antidepressants.
Yes.
And then let's talk about the real truth, which perimenopause women often, because for a lot of their doctors, that's one of the only tools they have in their toolbox, right? It tends to be antidepressants or birth control pills, which again, no shade if it helps you. I know in my case, the antidepressant did, or I have friends who go back on the pill and sometimes don't even know if they're going through menopause.
Oh.
Because they're having these cycles, right? Into their 50s. They're like, I don't know, maybe I went through it. But because those are the like only typical go-to tools for a long time, we know that there is that like for, teenagers and for perimenopause, it is a very overly subscribed thing. So again, you got to check with yourself. You got to work with a team that knows what to do. Also, you absolutely need to, increase your doses very, very in a very small way. It's like a very gentle way of doing it. So all of those things are great. And then you have an ongoing conversation, right?
Right.
You can change it, you can decrease it. But one of my buddies who's also openly on one, I said, do you think you'll ever get off this? And she was like, no. Do I think I'll ever stop wearing my glasses?
Right.
But for everyone, it's different. So
For everyone, it's different. And I think it's so important to explore what are the possible tools in the toolbox? What could I have? What could help me? And so I think the first step in that is talking to a doctor, talking about it, talking to friends. And I love that you became someone that other friends and family could go to and have that conversation. Can I ask you about it? And here you are sharing it with millions of women, because these are the important conversations that we need to be having at this stage of our life. And shame-free. Let's just own it.
Let's own it, because I love where mental health is going nowadays. I actually think that our younger generations are brilliant and they're ahead of what our generation had to deal with. Gen X didn't know what was going on. Did anyone get that kind of care? Very, very rarely, right? I don't think we were talking openly about depression and anxiety.
Oh no, it was very closeted and held back. I think a lot of people have a lot of very private shame around that. And that is not helping any of us. That's keeping us all frightened. It's keeping us all separate. And think about who wins when we are separated from each other and we are fearful.
And we might just be carrying around that old baggage that we don't even recognize, even though I think there's so much wonderful therapy and open discussion about all the different things you can be doing. Like people are talking about microdosing ecstasy for PTSD. Like there's just a whole new avenue of things. But we came from a time where that was not discussed. So interesting that it took me a long time to get here, but I'm just now going to be an advocate for anyone who needs it, but not for everyone. It's not for everyone. How about you, girlfriend? Talk to us about the thing that you wish your younger Flachet had known about.
Well, honestly, I wish I had known that sleep was going to become an issue for me at some point in my life. I've been a notoriously good sleeper. I could sleep anywhere. I sleep for 8, 9, 10, 11 hours sometimes if you let me. And then in midlife, all of a sudden, I would hear people complain about in being, insomniacs. And I was like, I don't get it. I don't know. I just can't relate. And then it started happening for me. I was waking up more. I wasn't getting this nice, even sleep. I was getting this ring around the middle. And I know that that's very much connected oftentimes with not getting proper sleep. And so it was before the pandemic. So, like the last 4 or 5 years or so, I've been using a sleep remedy by the Bach Flower company. It's called Rescue Sleep. The link for it's below. You can go and try it. It's natural. It's flower essences. And I take these little pellets and you put one under your tongue and it melts. I do before I brush my teeth. And then within about like, no joke, 20, 30 minutes, lights out, mommy out. I'm just done. I don't know exactly what's going on. I don't know how it works. It's flower essences. It's homeopathy. So if that's like not your thing, then this may not be of interest to you, but it's something I can get. It's readily available. It's not very expensive. I keep a few in my travel bag because sleeping someplace else in someone else's bed at a hotel or something can be a very tricky place to get the sleep. It is my secret weapon. And I am so happy that I found it. And I know that so many people are prescribed some pretty heavy duty sleep medications that are notoriously difficult and kind of terrifying to get off of. And so I just also want women to know that there is a more gentle solution. There's something that you can go and pick up on your own and try. Of course, talk it over with your medical. We're not giving any medical advice here.
Right.
I'm simply telling you what worked for me and how I find it. So it's, I'm able to get it at the grocery store, at the pharmacy sometimes. You can buy it on Amazon. And it's my secret weapon. I wish I had known sooner that there would have been something for me, very gentle, to help me get that sleep because I see how it affects my mood. I am a lot more pleasant to be around when I've had a good night's sleep. I feel better. I can feel my stress levels. I'm much more able to deal with real life.
Yeah.
And especially when real life has a right hook in there somewhere, I'm much more able to really oh, okay, well, I'm rested. I can really figure this out. So for me, that's been my mommy's little helper to help me get the sleep that I need and in a way that feels good to me. And I don't personally have any side effects from it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, that's amazing. And yeah, I mean, sleep is paramount. And I feel like if I could have told my younger self that like half of your, mood issues and cranky issues are just like trying to get more regular sleep, that would have been a deal changer. And I think a lot of young people you hear it, you kind of know it, but you're like, that's for the old ladies, But at every stage of life, it's so important. So I also feel like for our former selves, like how many times did we just need more sleep, But when you're young, you can get away. You think you can get away.
You think you can get away. Exactly. And I think that was the other thing. I had a really hard time noticing that I have been slowing down. So even though maybe I was trying to pull an all-nighter on this or that, or work on some project or do some crazy travel thing where we're traveling really late, I would push it and then not really own the fact that I don't feel so good after I did that I really do. I need a routine for sleep.
Yeah.
I need what some call sleep hygiene. I need practices. I need strategies. I've got stretches we've talked about in another episode.
The
stretches
rituals.
that I do. The rituals.
Oh, absolutely. It's the wind down. It's the signaling to the body, especially like if you have a active brain, but also I just think for your body to get the cues of like, okay, we are winding down now. I think it's really, really important. One thing that is a fun bonus for this Fitbit that I really enjoy because I like kind of knowing my little achievements about walking in steps is it if you leave it on at night, it tells you about your sleeping cycles.
Oh, interesting.
And what I found is cool is it kind of gives you a sense of your deep sleep, your REM sleep, your light sleep, and it shows you your cycles. It also shows you your duration. But it's interesting because, it's not always the length of sleep, right? It's the quality of sleep. So I don't know, for anyone who feels like they want to do a deeper dive to understand your cycles of sleep, something that you wear around your wrists, like an Apple Watch, I believe does the same thing. If it doesn't annoy you when you sleep, it's kind of interesting. It'll kind of tell you where you're at that day.
I need to check that out. I imagine my watch does do that. I think I'm also weirded out by the technology, knowing all of my biofeedback and my, it knows where I am and what my heart rate's doing. And I just don't know that I personally love that. And yet I still wear one.
Yeah. You just don't want to invite it into bed with you, perhaps.
I don't know if I want it in bed.
That might be a little too intimate for Flachet.
And yet I'm very curious. I love biofeedback. I mean, I think it is definitely a healing modality that I work with, but Yes. That's one for me just to sit with. Like, how do I want to manage that?
Yeah, the thing I've dialed in on specifically is the REM sleep. I will notice a difference whether or not I kind of hit my REM benchmark, because they'll show you the benchmark and the patterns. And that has more of an effect than the duration of sleep. But I am like you, I'm a cat in another life. I love sleep. I
Mm.
love a lot of sleep. I feel like there's part of me that is an eternal teenager. I'm like, when will I become a morning person? I don't know. But I just adore sleep. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I love it. Well, tell us another one. What else do you wish you had known that is now rocking your world?
So another one that again, I could not click with for my younger self, but I also think wasn't as readily available was meditation.
Oh, yes.
And it is so huge, especially if you are someone who, is a big thinker. It is so great to give your brain a little break to go through its processes and just watch it doing its thing. And mom, I'm so sorry, because my mom, when she was about 50 and I was a young college student, really got into meditation,
Oh,
specifically Tibetan Buddhist meditation. And she's from Berkeley, California. There was a whole lot going on. And so she took me on one of my college breaks when I was visiting home to one of these meditation sessions. And it was a group meditation, and there was a whole room of people. Girl, I could barely keep a straight face. I was I was trying not to giggle the whole time. I was so uncomfortable. I was so out of my comfort zone. And it just did not click. I did not get it. Why are all these old fuddy-duddies sitting around? This makes no sense to me. And then again, I'd say in my 40s, especially, something clicked, and meditation had this like aha moment for me. Now I will say I like doing it alone. I know some people love doing it on retreats and in groups. I just feel more tuned in to myself when I do it alone. I just set a timer. There's people who use apps and guided meditation, and there's walking meditation. There's so many kinds, but it is a funny thing that I look back on and think, oh my gosh, if you had been able to drop into that, it would have been so useful and helpful for you to just detach. Jess, your younger self could have had a lot less drama in your life, but I wasn't ready for it. And again, I will say, as Gen X ladies, it wasn't out and about. I don't know if that many other people were doing it besides certain cultures and certain kind of niche communities. This was in the 90s. Now I feel like you throw a rock and there's some cool meditation app. So that has been really life altering. I definitely can tell when I haven't done it in a while. Like I'll be like, it's been a couple days. I need to get back to my routine. And it just really makes a difference. It's gentle, it's subtle, and I don't have to do it for a long time too. There was a time where I was like, oh, do I have to meditate for an hour? If I can clock 10, 15 minutes, it feels marvelous. Some people say that there's like a baseline of 20 minutes, but I'm like, you know what? If I only have a day where I can show up for 5 or 10 minutes, I'd rather do that than nothing at all. And it's really, really, really helpful.
Oh, I love that. It makes so much sense. So I have a sort of an opposite story for you.
Oh,
In my mid-20s, I got really into meditation. I was
oh,
dating this boy and he was involved in this week. Well, actually, we found the community together, but we were all meditating together. All these young
oh.
people in Berkeley, California, sitting together, meditating, getting high off of breathing and zoning out. But it was interesting. When I think back on it, I even trained to be a meditation teacher back then, probably when I was like, oh gosh, 26, 25, is that it was more like a sport. That's how I found the community to be engaging with it.
Oh my God, no way. Competitive meditation?
It ended up being super, super competitive meditation. How long does it take you to get into the zone? I was focusing on this and this thing happened to me. Oh, that hasn't happened to you yet? I'm sure you'll get there. I mean, there was a lot, and I'm sure I was right up in there too. So it got a little bit weird,
Yeah.
as things at that age and stage of life can. And so I was like, I went so deep with it, but it was very egoic.
Ah.
None of us were truly spiritual. We were all just kind of saying stuff and doing stuff, right? In with this dogma. And so I was like, okay, been there, done that. I'm a meditation teacher, great. But then, like, it kept coming up. So when I was training to be a therapist, I had this internship where they needed, if only we could find a meditation teacher. Like, well, I do that. So I started doing it. And I just found that it was this life skill that I could just pull out and do really easily. And it turned out I was kind of good at teaching people how to do it. And so it was interesting. So it's always been this through line in my life. And I think of myself as a meditator, but now at this stage of my life, I think I'm doing it more as it's intended. It's more of a healing modality for me. So one of the things I'm working with now is less of the sitting alone part and more about really bringing that presence into my life. So how do I, right here, sitting and talking with you, be feeling my body and feeling my breath and just noticing what's going on the inside. So I'm not lashing out and saying, just like saying things, which I still often do. But so for me, I'm shifting that, and it's been helpful for me to teach my children. Both of my boys will tell you, I know how to meditate. I've been
Oh,
meditating since I was little. There are pictures of me meditating, holding my kids.
that is so sweet.
So yeah, it's very interesting. And so, but it is much more meaningful to me now at this stage of life. I'm like, oh, this is what it means to be present. This is what presence
Yes.
is.
Yes.
It's being.
Right.
It's not being locked, for me, being locked away. Although sometimes I like that, especially at the end of the day. I love to get into the bath. I'm a big meditator in the bath. Put some salt in my water. Oh my goodness. And so that's very actually kind of exciting to even think about. I can feel myself getting excited. So I think there's something about finding what works for you. And I love all the things that you listed.
Yeah.
Walking, meditation. Honestly, I think sex is a meditation. I think climbing a mountain is a meditation.
Dancing.
Dancing. And if you want to
anything
get
in your body, somatic stuff is, yeah.
And if you want to get close with somebody, you do that with them. You sync up your breathing with them. That's why, like, jumping out of airplanes, with a spouse you're trying to reconnect with, or someone you're just freshly dating, is so exciting because you're creating these transcendent moments together where everything is synced up. And so to me, that's what meditation is. It's like learning to sync up with, line up everything in your body so that your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and your behaviors are all lined up. That's presence, y'all. And at this stage in midlife, we're not living on purpose now, it's gonna get harder and harder and harder. And I think that so much of these shifts that we're going through, it's really this invitation to come back to ourselves.
And I love that suggestion that you can just integrate it into being present throughout your day. There was also, I remember, a girlfriend dinner date, and I remember I had worked a long day and I was feeling a little fatigued. And I got to the restaurant like 5 minutes early. And so I just sat in my car and I literally just sat there and I just kind of gave myself a purposeful moment just to like center. And I remember the difference I felt at that dinner party versus another one where, you're scrambling to get there and you're busy and you're running. It's like whatever moment throughout the day you can do just to kind of reflect and see where you are. Because I think the burden, I'm going to say, with meditation is that for a lot of us, I think it feels like yet another thing we have to do.
Or another thing we have to do and we're not doing, so yet one more thing we're failing at.
Exactly. And that we have to bookend it somehow either at the beginning of our day or at the end of our day. And it's like another chore that we have to do after we do all of our obligations and our work and our whatever family and friend stuff. The idea that you can just like have a moment either in the moment with people or like I did prepping right before for just a quick kind of moment, I think is a great way to remind ourselves that this does not have to be a burden or yet another dang thing we got to check off our checklist, because it's just like overwhelming. I think that we as especially Americans are fed and marketed so many helpful things. But it's like when you break it down, all the helpful things, your green smoothies and your meditation and your yoga, you're like, I need a full-time life to be able to do all these things. So integrating it and making it very doable in your day-to-day life is so key. So don't get down on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Try it anyway. There's no wrong way to do it.
Yes, I love that. And I think, technology, this is a place where technology can help us and hurt us. It's like two sides of the same coin. And so how can we use technology well? So one thing that I do is I have an Apple Watch, and I use the mindfulness app. And so I can have it send me random messages, just sit and breathe, or I can actually go to the app and it just shows me a little image and I just sit and breathe. It is amazing. I can also watch my heart rate.
Yeah.
So because that's the other thing that we're doing when we're slowing down, getting out of our heads and more into our bodies, the heart rate also
Yes, it does.
levels out and normalizes. Sing with a girlfriend.
Exactly.
I feel like I get to meditate with you.
Yeah.
Like we're getting synced up every week and doing
Right.
this experience together. And so where is that for you? Leave us a comment down below and tell us what that looks like or what you want to try.
Yeah, and definitely as a voice coach for performers and public speakers, it is one of the best ways to slow your heart rate down and to just get out of that fear and flight and freeze zone that often we do when we're anticipating going on a stage. So it is a huge one. And some people don't even feel comfortable calling it meditation. Just call it breathing exercises.
Yes.
Just call it something different. But it's really, really helpful.
It's very delicious.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah.
Well, I think, do you have one more for us?
I've got one more.
Okay, one more goodie. Let's bring it.
I wish when I was younger, I mean, I've always done this, but I wish I had done it with more intention. And that is body work. So I'm a pamper puss. I love massages. I love reflexology and all these kinds of these modalities. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. But now I'm realizing, I have some chronic things that I've had since my 20s. And back then, I couldn't really afford to be going to a bunch of body work and things like that, and didn't realize what that connection was. That mind-body connection, that maybe there was something going on up in my head that was giving me the sore neck or the weird thing in my back. And now that I'm 51, those chronic things are even more chronic.
Yeah.
And so I've recently reconnected with my personal interest in what was chiropractic, but now it's naprapathy. And I find that most people have never heard of it. So
I have not.
There's a link below so you can learn a little bit more about it. And like in California, they're not even licensed yet. It's kind of it came out of chiropractic work, but I find it so much more gentle. This has been my own personal experience. It's a lot more of working with the deep tissue and breaking up the fascia. And then inside of the fascia is where a lot of the trapped emotions are. So you end up having all these emotional releases. And I think that there's not enough people talking about that now. This is my personal opinion. And so getting that kind of body work has been so helpful for me for healing trapped emotion and my own personal traumas that I've experienced in my life. Oh my gosh. It's like I was like encased. For those of you listening on the podcast, I'm hunched over and I felt like I was stuck, like I was in a cast. And I was. My ego had developed this cast of like shoulder up to the neck and the head pinched down to it. And then all of a sudden that became this pain where I would get stuck in that. And then it turns out working through that, releasing the fascia, drinking more water, having some compassionate touch, bada bing, bada boom, bada bang, it's healed and healing. And now I hardly ever get locked up anymore because I can see what the connection was. Oh, when I get into this kind of situation, my body responds like that, where my neck gets a crick in it or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But now I can spot it sooner, and the body work is helping me. The body worker, the people who I work with, who I develop a relationship with, they get to know my body and my issues. Maybe you've heard the saying, the issues are in the tissues.
Yeah, or the body keeps the score.
The body keeps the score. And it is so true, ladies. So, what chronic health issues are you having, and where do you feel called to work on it? Is it on your own? Is it with somebody else? I would definitely ask your friends who they go to, because here's the other thing when it comes to body work. Anyone can call themselves a Reiki worker, a this, a that, a body worker, a holistic massage expert. I mean, really, anyone can call themselves whatever they want and maybe not know a thing or read one book on it, or or they're naturally gifted and they have no learning, no proper training at all, but they are amazing at what they do. Ask your friends, ask around. Do not ask the internet for advice. It's my personal opinion. I think you should go with someone who you know through someone else, if you can.
Absolutely. Yeah. Check their referrals because there's so many incredible body workers. One of my dear friends is a beautiful body worker, deep tissue massage and therapeutic massage. And, she went to school. She's been doing it a long time. So you definitely want to get a professional because they could harm you if they don't know what they're doing. So that's a big deal. As someone who has unfortunate arthritis in my neck and in my lower back, and I think a lot of us at this age do have some of that. I have a little shrinkage in one of my lowest vertebrae that's causing some arthritis. I can feel my little friend right now. And then I have bone spurs in one of my cervical vertebrae for also the disc in between shrinking a little bit. So the bone compensates by creating a little more of a bone spur.
Oh.
So one thing that is huge for me is constantly stretching because things can tighten up on me if I neglect to stretch. Now, when you're in a moment where your body might seize up on you, then stretching is not always advised. And I'm not a medical expert, so I don't want to go down this whole rabbit hole. But just to say that if you are someone who has been diagnosed with some stuff in your back and your neck, there's so many good ways to treat it. When I first got that news, was so flippin' depressed. I just felt like it was I was just doomed. I was doomed to be in pain the rest of my life.
It sounds like the beginning of the end.
Of
being hunched over, busted up.
Right.
Yeah.
What I'm learning is actually most of us are going to experience this. This is a very common thing by our age. Our spine has been holding us up now for 50 plus years. Things are going to start to break down or shift a little bit, but there's so many ways that we can go about helping it. So that's a really fascinating, different way to go about helping it. But I think that it's really important for us to think about the hopefulness in taking on these things and not feeling doomed. Just wanted to say that about this topic.
And I can feel many a girlfriend leaning back in this conversation being like, I can't afford that. That's not in my budget.
Oh, and so there's so many things you can do at home.
Things you can do at home for sure.
Yeah.
And massage schools, offer discounted rates for working with students. Also, other kinds of healing modality schools places doing Reiki or places doing more structural massage or things like that, other kinds of body work, and look and see if you can work with one of their students.
When I was younger, I would go to massage schools. They need bodies. They need bodies to practice on. They can only practice on each other so long. They're probably like, I don't need another massage. So that's a great way to do it. Also at home, a couple of my go-to things are tennis balls and socks, or a lacrosse ball if you want to have something that's a little bit more firm. And then there's also all of these great self-massagers that you can find and order online now.
Absolutely. A foam roller. Those are really great.
Roller. Yes. So there are a lot of very, very accessible ways, because yes, body work or chiropractic work or specialized work can be very cost prohibitive, and that isn't available to all of us. But yes, there are definitely ways to go about it.
Another great one that I recently discovered, and my body worker who does naturopathy on me said this was the ultimate thing to do, which I thought was ding, ding, ding. Just look on YouTube for fascia unwinding, FASCIA, fascia, and then unwinding. And you just learn all these intuitive ways to move your body. And because my body worker, she says, you are the expert on you, Fleshe. Only you know what happens if you turn your neck this way and then lift your other shoulder this way. And I thought, that is so true. She said that she had never heard of anyone hurting themselves by doing this intuitive movement. So go and check that out too, because I think there's something we've been taught to be afraid of moving our bodies. Just like I think we're also taught a lot to be afraid of our own mental health. Like you
Absolutely.
can't be looking deep into your own psyche on your own. You need a professional. You can't be fixing your own hurt back. You need a professional. I think we are very much moving out of that time where we are going to learn all of our self-healing modalities and tools. And that's true empowerment.
All right, girlfriends, we just gave you a whole lot to chew on in this episode, and hopefully something is helping you, something is lighting you up to go seek it out. What is a hell yes for you? What is a hell no? That can happen too. And what are you doing now that you wish your former younger self could have known that has helped you immensely? Share with us. Come on over to Substack. It's free. It's our beautiful community. Share with us what's working for you, what is helping. You will not only be helping yourself, you will be helping us and the other women in that community to do it. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. We love to hear from our listeners. We love to respond to you. It is so fun. It is what Girlfriends of a Certain Age is all about. So I am just full with ideas. I'm going to go check out that fascia stuff personally. And I'm so curious what y'all are feeling and calling in as well. Well, until next time, girlfriend. Bye.